Hey everybody, Waifu Belector here, the only fair human on earth, and I've gotta talk to you guys today because I feel like the entire gaming community is losing the plot on what a sequel is. People have forgotten what that means. It means, let's continue this, we're keeping it rolling, this thing that we're doing. You know, it means we're gonna do more of what we have and move it forward. That's a sequel, but that doesn't seem to be so well understood anymore, because whenever a high-profile game sequel comes out, it's met with the laziest criticism of, it's just more of the same, or more of insert game title. And for one, yes, sequels are going to be more of themselves, more of the franchise. That's a sequel. But for two, the actual criticism of more of the same is no longer even being used appropriately. More of the same is for when a franchise has stagnated, when it hasn't improved in any meaningful or significant way, and typically over multiple entries. More of the same is something we say and reserve for franchises like Borderlands, where the improvements and changes are pretty minute from game to game. Nothing against Borderlands, by the way, and Borderlands 4 does appear to be making an attempt at meaningful improvement, but I'll see when it's out. But anyway, also games like Pokemon. Pokemon more times than not is just more of the same when one comes out. And it's especially frustrating how little their graphics and general quality improve, if they improve at all, considering how much room for improvement there is. Dynasty Warriors is a more of the same franchise. 1 billion games that are the exact same thing. Assassin's Creed has also become one of these franchises. These are franchises you can tag with that lazy phrase. Instead of tagging a series with 2 games as that, because the second game plays like an improved version of the first with new content. That's not more of the same, that's a fucking sequel. You know, in recent years, we've had games like God of War Ragnarok, Horizon 2, Spider-Man 2, Jedi Survivor, Diablo 4. They come out and a whole subset of lazy would-be critics just say it's more of the same. You know, oh, it's basically the first game but improved with new story or new weapons and maybe a new mechanic. And yeah, that's a fucking sequel. And the latest game to fall into this pool of nonsensical critique is the upcoming Ghost of Yotei, which is what kind of sparked this for me. So let's talk about what the fuck a sequel actually is and should be, since there seems to be some confusion. Okay, so whoever may have put it in your head that sequels completely upend foundations and veer off radically from the preceding games did you a disservice. That is not what sequels typically are, and it's not what they need to be. In the most concise phrasing, a sequel's goal is to increase the value of the existing series by adding something new and better on top of what you already enjoyed. And so while the sequels retain the foundation of the original and usually still play similarly, what are supposed to be the invaluable strengths of the sequel are usually presented in the form of new story, new environment, improved game elements, and more game elements. Always some combination of these 4 things. You know, a more story-based series might lean harder on the new story as a selling point, whereas something without a story wouldn't do that at all, and instead would lean on new and more game elements. Every sequel won't have the same amount of each, but these are the tools that create sequels. And they're what all your favorites do. I see a lot of people enjoying Hades 2 right now. None of that is some crazy radical shift. It looks and plays like Hades. That doesn't mean it's not a good sequel. It's supposed to play like Hades. It's a Hades game. What about Halo 1, 2, 3? Gears of War 1, 2, 3? The Batman Arkham series? None of these series introduce stark, radical changes. And even when they'd eventually introduce something a little daring, it was later. Even your granddad's favorite, Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid 2 is improved MGS1. Don't be fooled just because they switched protagonists. When you play the game, it's very much the Metal Gear Solid sequel. But as part of the new story, new environment, there was a new protagonist. But the foundation of everything was very much the same as it should be. Now, I don't blame you if you want your favorite game sequel to have more bold and daring additions or changes, but I feel like you can't start complaining about that kind of thing on the second entry in a series, because most games just aren't doing daring stuff by that point because what they've created hasn't gotten stale yet. Around like a 3rd or 4th game is typically when the risky shakeups come into play, but there are outliers. I would say that the Doom series is very daring. Each game is still a sequel, still feels feels like Doom in ethos, but they completely do away with the player's previous game plan and feel of movement every single time. From Doom 2016 to Eternal to Dark Ages, the way you move and how you should play is different. And those are daring choices because I'm sure a lot of people liked the movement of the previous game. But I call those daring additions and changes because it's trying something risky while at the same time not completely leaving behind what you had to attempt and present it fresh as a whole new thing. Because that kind of sudden transformation is not what sequels are. And if that's what you're looking for in a sequel, then what you actually want is a spinoff. You want a fucking spinoff, because the amount of true sequels, especially second entries, that will just radically shift direction or bombard you with a whole slew of risky changes are few and far between. It's very fucking rare. And listen, it is possible to play it too safe. It's possible for a sequel to not bring enough to the table, not enough improvements and or changes to justify itself. That happens, and it's a valid criticism, but that's different from you being upset that the sequel is like the first game but better, because that's what sequels are, man. So don't get mad about two games with the same name, except one of them has a 2 at the end, play similarly. That's ridiculous. The names were a dead giveaway. If you've just gotta be mad at something in this vein, be mad that Elden Ring was just Dark Souls 4. Be mad that Marvel Rivals is Overwatch 3. Be mad that Wuthering Waves is just Genshin Impact 2. Those games don't even share names, but they're the same fucking guy. Alright, I think that's it. Hopefully this was insightful or entertaining in some way. If not, oops. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and consider subscribing. Thanks in advance. And until next time, I am WaifuBelector. I'm just a normal guy. I like hentai and I understand sequels. Goodbye.